more films under a 5 out of 10 on IMDb that I kind of like. Once again, under a 5 used to be naturally where I would keep scrolling, but I've come to realize that there are some hidden gems under that score, so these films are not often that good always. It's just ones I enjoy despite everything, so let's get into it. There's a good chance this won't be the only time that I mention this movie, because this is the holiday season coming up. But we have a vicious Grinch horror movie. And legally they can't say Grinch, I don't believe, but we all know. And then the Grinch character, the mean one, is played by David Howard Thornton, the same guy who plays Art the Clown in the Terrifier films. So the mean one terrorizes Newville and does much more than steal presents. And when I watched this, I was fresh off of the first Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie, which I did not like, so kinda had a bad taste in my mouth for these childhood ruiner horror films, but damn it if I didn't have fun with this one. It brought some laughs, mostly cheap ones, but I had fun. The deaths could have been a bit better in places, but they weren't terrible either. And I do feel they had as much fun as they could have with this wacky premise overall, so I will watch this one again later. A plane crash lands in an unknown area, and the survivors have to escape a place filled with dinosaurs. This found-footage horror film had an incredibly exciting premise. Does it take full advantage of this intriguing plot? I would say not so much, but that's not to say it doesn't have some enjoyable moments. And I do wish I liked this one more, and hell, I would even watch a remake of this, found footage or otherwise, but the characters are what seem to truly do a lot of people in. The young girl holding the camera is a lot to handle, and I do understand that, but with found footage, I just really enjoy the subgenre, so I can often look past that stuff, some, if the movie keeps me entertained, and this one often did. I mentioned this found footage horror film back in like September or October, and I did not give it glowing reviews, but I do look back rather fondly on it. People claiming to be a demon, a vampire, and a skinwalker are interviewed by a film crew who clearly don't believe them, and they wind up telling the truth, and they are hunted down the rest of the night. And this one, of course, has its issues. Another annoying cameraman, and to me, suspense was hindered a bit throughout because they just kept constantly throwing things at you. The monsters pop out way too often to let a tense moment breathe, but the action, despite the lacking budget, was pretty fun. And again, I wouldn't mind seeing this one redone. Maybe for starters, not being in a house most of the film. I think the woods or just some rural area would have really made for an outstanding setting. Any film with Leslie Nielsen could not be a complete failure, and during the height of these parody films, superhero movie stands out more than most to me. It still has that juvenile, middle schoolish humor in places, but there were still several jokes and gags that pretty much landed for me. It's not better than most of the scary movie films, but it's one I watched constantly in childhood, so there's also some nostalgia there too. Okay, so for a kids movie, this one probably goes a bit too far with some of the adult humor. Not that most jokes will not still go over a child's head, but this I think is probably the most bizarre Dr. Seuss adaptation. Mike Myers did not fully play it down too much for a younger audience as far as the dialogue went, but the cat in the hat antics worked fine overall. And also, even though Thing 1 and Thing 2 kinda creeped me out, they were incredibly over the top in some of the most amusing ways. And even though I would trash this movie from time to time, I still occasionally find myself watching it every so often.